Hello everyone, my name is Stefan. I'm a product manager here at Nerdio. Today, I want to show you a demo of running Azure Virtual Desktop on Azure Stack HCI and doing setup and management with Nerdio. Few topics I want to cover before we dive into the demo. First of all, for you to be able to set up an Azure Stack HCI with AVD, you will need the hardware. Once you acquire that hardware, there are a few prerequisites that Microsoft has listed. Obviously, you're going to need an Azure subscription, an on-premise Active Directory, and this one is more than a nice to have, a stable connection. A lot of the challenges that we have seen historically with Azure Stack HCI come from unstable connections with high latency and low throughput. After you have acquired Azure Stack HCI, you will need to register that with Azure. Microsoft has in-depth documentation. Finally, we'll use Nerdio, and for that you will need a Nerdio deployment. With all this covered, let's go and start with the first part, which is linking Nerdio to your Azure Stack HCI resource. To clarify, the resource needs to be registered with Azure, but also we need to allow Nerdio to manage it. To do that, we need to go into the Nerdio Management UI. Here, from under Settings, I'm going to go to Integrations and click on the linking of an Azure Stack HCI cluster option in the Azure Stack HCI cluster tile. Once I click on that, I'm giving an option to enter all these details that you see on the screen. The need for these details is due to the fact that we are using the Azure Hybrid Worker. In the newer version with Resource Bridge, this looks much easier. Now in the new version, we're going to go to Settings, but this time we're going to go to Azure Environments. And here we're going to select Link a Hybrid Network, because that is all we need to worry about, is making sure that we have the Azure Stack HCI on connected network. And you can see I have two options here. Once I select that and click OK, I will complete the linking. After the linking has been completed, we can go and start to create a host pool on top of Azure Stack HCI. Before we can create our host pool, however, we need to create a desktop image. For that, we're going to go to Desktop Images, and here we're going to follow the standard process in Nerdio to create an image. We have two options. One is to create from an existing VM or from the Azure library. Very quickly, I'm going to select the Azure library. I'm going to fill in this information. And of course, the key here is that this image will need to be synchronized down to the Azure Stack HCI. Since I don't want to wait for that to happen, I'm going to use an image that already created. And if you need more information on how to do this, please refer to our documentation. With an image created, I'm going to navigate to Workspaces. Here, I'm going to select Hybrid Host Pools. So Hybrid Host Pools represent our type of host pool that exists on Azure Stack HCI. And over here on the right-hand side, I have the Add HCI Host Pool button. We'll click on that one, and we will need to enter a title, a descriptive title, a description, and kind of follow the standard process that Nerdio has for assigning and creating a host pool. So my name is going to be Test Host Pool. Description is going to be something easy. And I'll stick to the defaults wherever possible for sake of brevity. So the host pool itself, it's created in AVD. Now that we have the host pool created, we can go into that host pool and add session hosts. Once I click on the Add Session Host, we're going to see a few familiar fields and a few new fields. The familiar fields are the host count. Let's say we want 2 session hosts, and the name of those session hosts. And we can define either a prefix or a pattern. I'm going to use test-hp. Now here is the new part. Since this is Azure Stack HCI, there's no concept of VMs queue. We can define as many CPUs as our configuration allows us, and as much RAM as it's needed for our configuration. Now, the key part here is to specify the network. The network must be the same network to which our Azure Stack HCI is linked. So I'm going to use my external network. Now, the next step is to select the image and I'm going to click on the image drop down. Here, Nerdio is smart enough to tell us which images we have and which we can use. So, for example, this DP is not synced to on-prem, while this Microsoft Windows Desktop, Windows 11 is synced, so I'm going to use that one. And then for the resource group, I'm going to select, again, I'll select the one that makes sense for my particular environment. And then I will click OK to create those host pools. Now, how long it's going to take for those VMs to create will depend on your Azure Stack HCI, how it's configured, what its size is, its vendor. But in the end of the day, we will receive an Azure Stack HCI hosting an AVD host pool. And after we do user assignments, we'll be able to do all the operations through Nerdio to manage that host pool. So that's it. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please refer to our documentation.